Hello everyone, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. So yes, I'm in front of a slightly different background today. This is usually my backdrop for my ghost story videos that I do on Monday, every Monday. But today I want to show you how much of a difference lighting, backdrops, makeup, everything can do in studio lighting. And then I want to do a full face of makeup in natural light. And I want to do a look that's somewhere between everyday and like glam, but make it more realistic. A smoky eye that you can whack out really quickly if you're going for dinner. Are we allowed to go for dinner? So the reason I'm sitting in front of this black background is because I've done my makeup in a way that I would do usually for my normal videos, where I have a purple backdrop, I have all my lights on, but I just wanted to show you how much this foundation washes me out against a black background and in front of different lighting. Just to kind of prove a point that lighting and background can really change up everything. I once did a live with my brother and he was sitting in front of like a warm yellow bulb and I was in front of this cold blue like ring light, and there were comments made like about me, like I bleached my skin, I'm lightening my skin, I don't want to have a tan and all this other stuff. It's because of a light bulb, because of a light bulb colour. And it really astonishes me that people don't understand how much lighting can affect the situation. And I also want to show you how smooth it makes skin look. You don't have to use filters, you don't have to use anything like that. Lighting can do that for you. So this is against a black background. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put on my normal lighting and switch to my normal background and have a look how that changes things up. Okay, so this is my normal lighting. You can see there's less shine bouncing off my face, less light. My skin tone looks a little bit more even, a little bit more warmth, a little bit more bronzed. And that's literally because I've taken away the black background and added a ring light. So that changes everything up completely. What I'm going to do for you now is I'm going to turn off my lights one by one. I've done this in previous videos, but if this is your first time seeing it, I kind of just want you to see the process of how lighting changes everything. So I'm going to get rid of my purple lights, which are those guys, and I'm going to get rid of the center light, which is this guy here, and that basically makes a light around this area so I don't produce shadows when I'm moving my hands against a back wall, because I have three very powerful lights here in front of me. If I didn't have that light to counteract that light, there'll be a lot of shadows on the back, and I just don't like that. So this is a kind of look you can get sometimes with just a ring light. Can you see how much darker my foundation is looking now? This foundation is quite a few shades darker than my skin tone because I can't use my normal skin tone on camera. I did start using my own skin tone when I started doing videos. I didn't even think that I'm used to studio lights, but I didn't realize that these at-home studio lights also did the same kind of thing where it kind of washes you out. So I have to use a darker foundation, but you'll see it's going to get darker and darker and darker. Yeah, but if I was to use my normal foundation, I look so pale, so pale, when actually it's just my normal skin tone. Yeah, okay, let me turn off these main lights in front of me here. Guys, now it's just me in a room. When I was saying earlier that you don't need a filter on your videos, that lighting actually blurs quite a bit. Look how much texture you can see on my skin now. This is normal skin. This is normal texture skin. You can't see that on camera because it kind of blurs quite a bit. You're putting on like foundation, which is a smooth canvas, and then lights bouncing off it, and it's giving you this really nice smooth look, especially when people do like the whole brightening up in here, which is way too much. Of course it's going to look great on camera because it's almost like absorbing that light and smoothing it out. But this is real skin. I'm going to open my blind just so it's finally you can see natural daylight, and then we'll go from there. It is way too sunny outside. Okay, look at that texture on the skin. Natural daylight is coming in from the side here. You can see my foundation is very dark on my skin. It almost looks completely yellow, but if you compare that to how like normal it looked with all my other lighting on, then you can see kind of why some things just look great on camera and look normal on camera, whereas actually in real life they don't look so great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to face that way, I'm going to move my camera, I'm going to sit right in front of my window here. We're going to try and get some really amazing skin, realistic skin, realistic eyes, and take away that pressure off these studio lights that not everyone has and not everyone needs. So look how light my neck is compared to my face. Okay, right, see you in a second. Okay, so here we are in natural lighting. I've had a little shift around. Usually I face this way when I'm recording, and my back wall is this side here. But I'm facing a window. The kind of lighting I'm in is, the sun is never this side of my house. That's why I chose this side for my studio and my office. It's at the back of a house there. So there's no direct sunlight coming in. It's like, I guess, plain light. I don't know how to describe it. Yeah. So what we're going to do today is, I guess everyone's version of every day is kind of a little bit different, but I kind of wanted to do like an everyday smoky eye, just with like fresh skin, nothing too heavy, just kind of making the most of what we have while still covering those few little areas that might need a little bit of coverage. Don't need it, but if you want to cover, we can do that. Yeah, let's start with eyes. Let me zoom in a teeny bit. Okay, so that's as far as it zooms in. I've got like a temporary setup here and I'm confused where I've left everything. I've made it a mess. So for my eyebrows, I'm going to go ahead and use my usual. This is the Pink Honey, I always get the name of this one, Honey Glue Tint Hold. So this is, you can see how much I've used, slightly deeper in shade. It does have a slight brown tint to it, but it's nothing crazy. And the reason I like to use this one, I have this thing recently where I just really don't want to put brow product in. I kind of have my brows in a shape that I like at the moment, and just by using this, it kind of gives off the impression that my brows have been laminated and they just look like immediately more tidy. Now I know a lot of people have tried to get this through my recommendation and they do ship to the US, but apparently shipping is quite pricey. If you do want to pay the shipping, I would 100% recommend it. The product lasts a really long time and it's the only thing that's held up my brows really, really well. Like, I've had products that I've used that have been like good, that have worked well, but this is the only one that literally feels like it's gluing my brows to my forehead. That doesn't sound great, but trust me, it's good when you have big bushy brows that never want to behave. So just before we carry on with the eyes, I do want to get skin a little bit sorted. I've cleansed and toned my skin, and because I'm doing a kind of makeup that's quite natural to the skin, I'm someone with quite oily skin, so if I want to keep that kind of natural glow, I don't want to use too much preparation, but I still want to hydrate, so I'm going to use a serum. Serums provide enough moisture without having that thick moisture kind of texture, that thick moisturizer texture. They're a lot more watery and absorb quicker into the skin, so there's no moisture hanging around, but it's enough to even out the kind of texture of my skin, where it tends to be a little bit uneven in terms of flakiness and dryness. So I'm going to go in with the Innisfree Green Tea Seed Serum. I'm not a skincare person, so I wouldn't be able to talk about the ingredients necessarily of this product, but I do know I like it. I've used it quite a few times before. In the areas where I'm a little bit more dehydrated around my nose, I do kind of apply a little bit more pressure. And I don't do this when I'm doing my skincare, only when I'm doing my makeup and I kind of need that texture to be corrected. So I'm just going to let that further settle into the skin and do its thing. And I'm going to show you, I think I've shown you this before, but this is a Jung Mall Skin Setting Glow Base. It's a really great primer. It doesn't do anything really, I find, in terms of texture for the skin. But for me, it's the glow it gives off, being an oily person and still wanting a glowy skin. I'm not going to use it like a primer where you go everywhere. I'm only going to use it in the areas where I want that excess glow. So I'm going to apply it just to this area here. God, my hair looks really big today. I don't know what's going on there. And I'm doing a tiny bit under the eye, just very, very gently. Not too up towards the actual waterline, but I just want that glow from underneath. I'm going to go around my nose here. I'm going to be using the BB cream today, but if you like to wear a full coverage foundation every day, then I would go ahead and mix something like this into your foundation. Not too much, because you might find it shears it down slightly, but because I'm using BB cream and I know I have that, and I know I'm going to have a lighter coverage, I'm not going to use too much. I ignore my forehead because that's just a greasy mess. I will add some highlighter to that later on anyway. I'll just do down the center of my nose and just look, not the forehead, but like the middle of my eyes here. Okay, so let that do whatever it needs to. Let's go with the eyes. I'm going to start with one of the by Terry Colour Fix eyeshadows, cream eyeshadow sticks. And this is the shade Misty Rock. The reason I want to start with one of these instead of my usual like Sigma eye primer is because cream eyeshadows, the ones that dry matte, make a really good eyeshadow base. So I'm going to be using that today. And we're going to do a smoky eye that kind of starts from the lash line darker upwards, like an ombre from the lash line up. That way you don't have to do the black out here and the light inside, and it just changes it up a bit. So I'm going to apply this to the whole lid. And then just before that completely sets up and dries, I just want to go through the socket and almost blend it like we would be blending a smoky eye backwards and forwards. Oh, I really like that colour. This is the first time I've used this shade. Oh god, I mean, whack on some lashes and you're good, right? Yeah. So that's pretty much going to be our main colour and our main kind of focus colour. We're going to deepen the lash line so it's nice and like sultry and darker. But I just think that really packs a punch. And a great thing about having that texture and that shine is it gives it dimension without having to add more product, you know? So I'm going to go into my Raw Beauty Chrissy and Pure Cosmetics palette. And I'm going to go to the neutral side, of course, and I'm going to go for the deep shade, You're Not My Real Dad, which is this one here. I wasn't just randomly saying that, that's the name of the shade. I'm going to take my Sigma Line Perfector brush, and I'm going to go along the lash line with that colour, and I'm going to apply it almost like I'm doing a line, which I just said, but then I'm going to go back and kind of flick that line up a little bit, almost giving like a false liner effect. And I'm aiming for the actual lashes themselves, like I'm like the root of a lash almost. And I have my mirror slightly down this way. It's so much easier to have it pointing down and looking down into your mirror rather than this way. I'm going to take that right to the inside corner. When you get to the inside corner, either angle your brush, I mean we're going this way anyway, but when you get into the corner, bring it down even more, almost like you're going straight up to like this, just so we can get that tight line on the inside corner. Now, by no means does this look anything exciting, but it's a really nice option to have instead of like the full-on Instagram-y option, you know? I'm just going to do what I said. I'm going to flick upwards with my brush. And then I'm going to take the edge of that brush and just tap along where the shadow meets the base that we just used. So we get that deeper ombre. Very subtle difference, but it's just to define that lash line without having to add like a thick liner or anything like that. This is something that I would do on brides as well. Usually not this dark in terms of color, well, unless they wanted something darker, but you can lighten the color, make it a little bit brighter, use more nudes, use more rose tones. I'm going to go with the shade Moo Point, which is this kind of pinky, dusky colour. And we're going to use that through the socket, almost like a transition shade. This is why I never record with a window open. It's really cold this morning and I just love the freezing cold. Like I would sleep with the windows open during winter if I could. Okay, let's do some concealer under the eye and then we'll finish up under the eyes with the whatever. So this is by, I never know how to say this, the Same or the Same. It's the Cover Perfect Ideal Concealer Duo. One side you have like your concealer, and then the other side is like this, I call it like 90s like lipstick concealer. We're going to use the 90s side because it has a little bit more coverage, but again it's that kind of texture that we can manipulate. Creams tend to be full-in coverage, but they tend to be easier to warm up and melt down, if that makes sense. So we're going to do my usual concealer technique. So a little bit in here, a little bit there. Usually it'll be 2 dots, 1 dot. But we're using this. Now, one thing with darker eye makeup, especially if you have, I have quite a wide nose. So one thing I do like to do is kind of bring the eyes outwards a little bit so they don't seem so close together. And a way to do that is to brighten up this inside here. So I'm just going to take a bit of this concealer and actually just wrap it round that nose area there and then go across. And then do the same again. Now that might look a little bit excessive to what I usually do, but we can blend this out further and also incorporate it into our nose highlight as well. I'm just going to go to those areas where I need a little bit more coverage. I'm not going to use as much as I usually do. I'm really tucking that in. So I'm going to take my ring finger, which is this finger here, and I'm just going to very gently tap. I'm going to look up just to get right up to that lash line there. And remember, the way I do concealer is to tap in those areas that tend to be affected more by discoloration first, so that being the outside corners. And not to bring it too far across, just keep it concentrated on those outside areas. And we'll tap the inside corner here, again looking up so we don't ruin our eye makeup. And we can get right up to the lash line that way. And move your finger around. I'm now using the edge of my finger. I'm not using the actual soft part. I'm using like the edge here. So with whatever's left on my finger, I'm then going to tap that across, looking up still. We'll tap that inside corner, the bridge of the nose. You may find as well with thicker product, once it warms up to, why am I looking over there? Like my camera's over there. Once it warms up to the product, it may kind of sit on the skin, so you may have to give it a gentle rub and then keep tapping out. I'm going to take the product used in the middle, down the middle of the nose here, and continue to take it wrapped around this eye area here. And I'm using my fingertip to very gently just push into that area here. You can see how it's lightened very slightly, this inside corner. So hopefully, subtly, my eyes don't look so close together. Areas where you're having a little bit more trouble, maybe the product isn't blending as easy, just kind of take the finger and just hold it there for a minute. And then tap that product and work it outwards. I think we have so many options for tools, for makeup, brushes, sponges, silicone sponges, things that are like hammers that apply product to the skin. We forget how incredible our fingers can be. So for under the eyes, I'm going to go back in with our cream shadow, and I'm going to take it very close to the bottom lash line. Now it's up to you if you want to stop about here. I've stopped about this side of my iris, is that word? I always forget the word. But I am actually going to take mine all the way in because I personally like a bit darker. Because it has a metallic shine to it, I don't feel like it's too dark. It does give off light when I kind of move around. I'm going to take the same brush that we used to kind of buff it out with a socket before. And I'm going to very gently blend that outwards. Now, just to finish off the eyes, we will add lashes and mascara a little bit later. I'm going to take the Wayne Goss The Essential Eye Kohl Pencil. When this product released, I was kind of a little bit shocked because people are like, Kohl pencil? Who uses Kohl pencil anymore? Don't underestimate the power of a Kohl pencil. I know we like those really gel-like pencils, but a good Kohl pencil, a good quality one, can last a really long time and can really make an impact. There are some that are terrible and smudge out and just look horrible, but this one's a really nice one. I'm gonna take that on the outside corner of our lash line from about halfway out, and I'm just gonna drag it along its side. I'm not trying to be too neat. And then when I get to the outside corner, I'm just gonna kind of stop. I'm gonna take the brush that we used to smudge that brown, and I'm just gonna drag it inwards. I'm not trying to make a flick out or anything like that. Then I'm going to take this along the lash line. Straight onto the waterline first. And then so we don't get that almost like separation between our waterline and the lash line, I'm going to hold the pencil at an angle, look straight forward and rub it along the lash line. Just a little tip, if you're doing pencil liner on a client and you're going in their waterline, instead of making it hell for them because it's very uncomfortable, take your little finger and just pull, of course, very, very lightly on the bottom waterline, get them to look up. And I always just go in and I say, I pre-warn them, I'm going to do 1, 2, and then we're going to take out the pencil and you can blink 1, 2. As soon as you tell someone they can't blink or they can't move, they're going to blink and move. So I do like 1, 2, break. 1, 2, break. 1, 2, break, and then hopefully you're done. Okay, so let's move on to skin. I'm going to use the Code 8 Radiate Beauty Balm or BB Cream, just because I really, really like it. It's really, really natural on the skin. It just evens it out very slightly without being too over the top. The way I'm going to do this, I'm going to take quite a fluffy brush and almost like a powder brush. Because we're doing kind of like more of a natural skin, I'm going to start by applying the BB cream in areas where I know I need a little bit more coverage. So for me, it's on my cheeks and my nose. And the reason I'm using a powder brush is because it gives more of a natural finish rather than something flat or something that kind of pushes product into the skin. I really need to do my eyebrows. This is a thing as well. You can get away with like so many different things when you're under studio lighting because it blurs it out. Even like me not doing my eyebrows. Sometimes you can't see that I haven't done them in a long time under the studio lighting. Now I do have a few blemishes on my forehead. They personally don't bother me. If you do want to cover your blemishes while you're trying to do natural skin, take a tiny bit of concealer, apply it like a dot on that area, and then just leave it while you finish up the rest of your skin or the rest of your eye makeup. That way the product's gonna heat up, warm up to the skin and get thicker. What I do want to do while our skin is glossy and I can see where it's shining is take my highlighter. I'm using a cream highlighter. This is a 3CE rear side. It's an odd name for a highlighter. And it's like a cream highlighter. It does come with this inside. However, I do find that can interfere with foundation texture. So I'm going to use my finger. And I'm going to look at, I'm still taking my ring finger again, and I'm going to look at the areas that I like that are kind of glowing. So I kind of like it to glow up here. So I'm going to tap and push that into the skin. And we can make this highlight a little bit more subtle in a few moments. I kind of like this bit of shine on my nose here. So I'm going to tap that on. To me, this is maybe a little bit too greasy. So on the tip, I'll just add a tiny bit of shine there. And a good thing about cream highlighters as well, as long as they're not too glittery, is that just like other cream products, they can be really easy to kind of incorporate into the skin's texture. I don't know what's going on out there. It sounds like someone's walking all over my house, but the scaffolding's gone. So forehead, like I said, I leave a middle because you can see it looks really shiny. We'll tap that down with some powder. But I do like this shine here. So I let it catch the light and then I will add the light back in. See how it kind of comes from the nose up like that? I mean, I have a long face, so I shouldn't really do that because it adds this like streamline to the face. But I like it, so why not? I just really, really like this highlight. It just looks perfectly like skin. It's amazing. I'm going to take my blur powder from EG Lips, or I like to call it Egg Lips. And then I'm going to take a brush, and this is going to sound really weird, but I almost want one that's going to bounce off the skin. And this is a way we can apply powder. And this is a way to kind of like, if you do bake under the eyes and you kind of like, I don't want to do that anymore, this is a good way to still use powder under your eyes, but not have it baking, if that makes sense. So I'm going to look at all the areas I want to mattify. For me, it's this area here. So almost like this triangle area, and the middle of my forehead and my nose ever so slightly on the edges here. So I'm going to tap one side of my brush into my powder. And then, like I said, I'm going to take that side with the powder on. I'm going to bounce it off my skin. I'm not rubbing. I'm literally bouncing. And feel free to go over those areas you just highlighted. That's absolutely fine. We've applied enough that it should show through. Can you see how the highlight kind of interferes with that texture under my eyes where it's slightly a bit lumpy under the eye? So if I mattify it, it stops that light from shining off so much and kind of calms it down a little bit. That's how his forehead. So I'm literally going bounce. Don't mind a little bit of shine. I just don't want it to look greasy, that's all. There's a difference between grease and glow. This powder is relatively clear, so you can do this with any of your setting powders you usually use. Even if it does have a slight colour to it, that's okay. Also just going to go around my hairline a little bit because that tends to get a little bit shiny. And I'm just going to use the tip of this brush right in here. This is the Sigma Tapered Highlighter brush. And I'm going to get right in a little bit here. So I'm going to take my Sigma Blush Cheek Palette. For me, for a natural blush, what I like to do is kind of take my skin tone, which is quite neutral, so somewhere in between red and yellow or pink and yellow, and I think, well, that makes peach, so I go for like a peach tone. So I'm going to go for this shade right in the bottom here for Sigma palette, and because we're doing something a little bit more natural, I'm not going to go crazy. I'm literally going to go around this area here very gently. under the highlighter. Make sure you don't go over that highlight. If you want to be really natural and really, really look like a natural flush, you can actually bring the color a little bit down here, away in makeup, and it's more kind of like a, I guess, a theatrical, like stage makeup technique is to make someone look really cold. If you're doing like character makeup, it's usually like a farmer or somebody who works outside, a fisherman. And you can put a little bit of blush on these parts of your hand and just apply it like this. And it gives that kind of natural flush of colour. You see it a lot in like pictures from just after the French Renaissance when they're doing that kind of naturally flushed look to make him look younger. That was a technique they used to use, and it was really, really effective. It looks cute actually. So for my lips, I personally don't like colour on my lip. I think the lighting just changed outside. So this is why people use studio lighting, because the light's always changing. I'm gonna go in with my Paul and Joe Pearl lipstick. This is a shade 402, and I mean, it's a cat first of all, so that's cute. It's almost just like a lip balm with a little bit of shine. So I'm gonna go with mascara. I'm gonna use a By Terry Lash Expert, which has a twist brush. Okay, I'm trying to get my camera to focus on it and it won't. But it has like a very natural brush, and you just twist it, and it kind of twists itself into this big, denser brush for more dramatic lashes. I'm gonna use it on its more natural setting. So I am going to add lashes, but I'm only going to add corner lashes. You can literally stop here. We've deepened the lash line enough, top and bottom, that we have definition around the lash line. But I'm going to go with my Pony Effect lashes. This is called Peninsula. And they're just corner lashes. So I'm just going to whack those on really quick. Okay, so that is our finished, natural, everyday smoky eye kind of situation. This might not be everyone's version of everyday, and I'm not even sure why I called it everyday. With very natural skin, we still have a nice glow to the skin. It's still looking nice and glossy, mattified kind of in the middle here, but we're not overcaked with powder. We're not overshining. Well, I don't consider that overshining. Maybe I do. Maybe I should calm that down a little bit, hey? I'm kind of hanging over my microphone, so I hope this picks me up okay. But you can definitely still see my skin texture. A few blemishes, but that's okay with me. I have a tiny little one up there. You still see skin tone, and my highlight naturally catches the light when it needs to. I really, really like this eye. Actually, this is really nice, actually, the eye base. Okay, well, that was this look in natural light. I hope you liked it. Do let me know if you have any questions about this look or this technique, or any technique that you're using below to achieve like a more of a natural look. Do check out my other videos that I've done in natural lighting. I've done like office friendly, and then I've done like a full glam in natural daylight as well. And this is kind of like a toned down somewhere in between. So yeah, go ahead and check those out. Thank you so much for joining me. I really, really do appreciate it. I will see you tomorrow and Wednesday, and then Sunday again. Have an amazing week ahead, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye.